Welcome back. According to an article by NPR, religious freedom conversations in the United States have primarily centered around protecting the rights of Christians for the past few decades. But the nation's current election season sparked another conversation to determine whether the same rights should extend to Muslims.
Very interesting. For more on this topic, ANN producer Jennifer Steinman sat down with Associate Director of the Seventh-day Adventist Church's Department of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty, Dwayne Leslie, and Associate General Counsel Todd McFarlane.
Hi, welcome to ANN. We have Dwayne Leslie and Todd McFarlane. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
An article recently came out in NPR that said conservative Christians are having trouble with other faith groups being granted religious liberty or the same religious liberty that they are. Why do you see the shift in this belief system that's happening?
I think as the country becomes more multicultural, many Americans are coming to the realization that religious liberty isn't just for people like themselves, but for all people. That's always been the fact in the United States. That's always been both the Adventist Church and America's policy. And in fact, the United States has had a long history of a wide diversity of religions having religious freedom here. But as those religious groups become larger and more visible, I think it has brought this issue to the attention of more Americans.
And unfortunately, I think sometimes people fear that things they don't understand. And I think that's problematic. But I think what's made this country great is actually that it's built upon pluralism. It's built upon the fact that we have a variety of people, a diversity of thought and belief. And I think that's what makes our country strong.
Some Adventists or some people might be surprised to learn that the Adventist Church actually supports people whose beliefs run contrary to our theological beliefs. What are some examples where we've done this in the past?
So the two most recent examples the Adventist Church has had of doing this would be supporting two different cases in the Supreme Court. One was dealing with Abercrombie & Fitch and a 17-year-old Muslim girl who wanted to wear a hijab at work, and we supported that case on multiple levels. And then another case that we joined a brief on at the Supreme Court was a case called Holt versus Hobbs, where a Muslim prisoner wanted to wear a beard in prison. And we supported that case. So those are two of the most recent cases. If you go back farther, we've supported everyone from the Santeria religion to Buddhists to all different types, and also, of course, Christian groups and Seventh-day Adventists as well.
But I think what we've found is that our principle stays the same, is that obviously we're not endorsing other particular theological views, but it's the constant principle of religious freedom for all people, the ability to follow your conscience, to believe or not to believe as you see fit. Because in many parts around the world, as the Adventist faith, while we're growing very rapidly, we often find ourselves in a situation where we are in the minority. And so we want to be able to have our rights respected and not be subject to the political power of the majority. And so we believe that it's consistent for us to advocate for freedom of religion for all people.
I would also say, in addition to that utilitarian view, we also believe it just to be theologically correct, which is to say people have the right to be wrong. That God and the Bible, the entire great controversy, in fact, arguably, is about the right of people to make decisions as they see, not necessarily be forced by God or by anyone to worship in a particular way. That doesn't mean there aren't consequences to that, at least in our eschatology and our religious views, but people have the freedom and the right to make a decision.
Good. So what should be the takeaway? How should we respond when we hear people talking about religious liberty restrictions against a set group of people?
Again, I think our view is always the same, is that people should absolutely always have the right to believe or not to believe and to follow their own conscience. Because I think when we start trying to pit one group against another, one group is right, one is wrong, I think in the end we all suffer from that.
No, absolutely. The Adventist Church has long stood up for other religious groups and religious minorities. Have we always done it perfectly? No, but it's always been a consistent belief of ours, and we need to continue to do that, especially for groups that aren't popular and groups that we disagree with.
And again, I would also think, I would encourage our members to don't forget those principles, even though you may be hearing messages to the contrary, that our church's view has been consistent since our founding, and we continue to advocate for these beliefs, and we will do that going forward.
Great. Thank you both for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me.